truth, based on a true story. This ain't for the weak, neither. Changed my whole outlook on this fella.
Joining me now, Charlemagne the God, host of The Breakfast Club on Power 105.1. Charlemagne, I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. You've been saying for years, enough is enough. Racial injustice is holding the black community down. We need a change. Is George Floyd's death and the last 15 days of people standing up and fighting back going to create the change you've been looking for?
I believe so, because when I see what's going on in America right now, I see God. And I think about how for the past few months, literally the world stopped and God sat us all down to open our eyes to the realities of America. You know, the idea of America sounds great: freedom, justice, equality, liberty, and justice for all. But we know that those things only apply to rich white men who built this country. They designed this white supremacist system a certain way, and this white supremacist system is working exactly how they wanted it to go. So when you think about coronavirus and how it showed why we need some form of universal health care system, because the current U.S. health system is trash, it showed us how all of America, including the corporations, are living check to check, because the whole country needed a bailout after a couple of weeks of being shut down. So yeah, universal basic income is probably something this country needs to consider. And then, of course, you know, systemic racism, the disease that this country has never found a cure for, you know, and the only cure for systemic racism is we the people finally saying enough is enough, because you get what you demand and you encourage what you tolerate. And America has encouraged systemic racism for far too long by tolerating it. And this white supremacist system has to be dismantled. And I really feel God has given America the chance to atone for this original sin, slavery, by simply doing right by black people. That's it. You got to do right by black people through legislation and reparations. Stop ignoring the plight of the poor. And God might have mercy on this country.
Woo!
So what needs to be done? What's the next thing? How do you feel about the Democrats' bill?
Cut it out.
I mean, I like the Democrats. Well, I like the Democrats' bill simply because, you know, when you think about what needs to be done as far as police reform, that's what we want. You know, we want that as far as police reform is concerned, as far as, you know, criminal justice reform is concerned. So I like that aspect of it. I like that aspect of it a lot.
You've said before that for Joe Biden to win your vote, young black people's vote, he's going to need to do more than not be Donald Trump. In the last week, we heard him present his plan for Black America. We heard him talk about mental health, education, summer programs, housing, health for the black community. He said it in Philadelphia. He put it in his
That's
new plan.
that bullshit
tangibles
that they be trying to throw at us. Chop her up. Watch him chop her up.
Suspect in the past.
Listen, he's got to go harder. You know, I've said it a million times, and I'll continue to say it. If Barack Obama was JFK, then Joe Biden has the opportunity to be Lyndon B. Johnson. You know, he has the opportunity to be as progressive in regards to race and class as Lyndon B. Johnson was. And if Joe Biden had listened to me and my conglomerate a few months ago, he would have been ahead of the curve on this whole "I love black people" campaign that everybody's on. Because we've been screaming, you know, at him to have an economic justice plan for Black America. We've been screaming at him to have a very radical legislation in regards to police reform and criminal justice reform. You know, especially since he spearheaded so many pieces of legislation that devastated the black community. He could, you know, have been ahead of the curve pushing certain policy commitments to his friends in Congress, his friends in the Senate. And, you know, he did announce he was putting a black woman on the Supreme Court. He committed to that. But, you know, what about a black woman running mate? You know, what does your shadow cabinet look like? My concern is simply that Joe Biden may not be doing enough to get black people to come out and vote for him in November. Fear of Donald Trump is not going to be enough, because this feels like 2016, you know, all over again. It was the same thing. Hillary was leading double digits in all the polls. The same Republican usual suspects were saying they weren't supporting Trump. But when election time came, we all know what happened. You know, 4.4 million people who voted for Obama in 2012 didn't show up in 2016. More than a third of them were black. What's going to make them come out this year?
Okay,
Nothing.
well, have you actually read the Biden plan for Black America?
She's trying to play him.
Because it's got a lot of that in there.
Not really. You know, it's a lot of trickle down economics in there. It's a lot of, you know, rising tide lift all boats rhetoric in there. It's very weak on atonement. Very weak on atonement, especially for somebody who has, like I said, been at the front of spearheading the war on drugs and mass incarceration in this country. Like he needs to really lean into blackness in a real way. And I'm not talking about putting on kente cloth and taking a knee. I'm talking about through real policy commitments, promises of certain legislation when he gets in, and atonement, reparations for America's original sin, which is slavery. You know, because let's be clear, Joe Biden needs black voters to win. 93% of black people who voted for Obama in 2012, that's what he needs to come out in 2020. 2016, that same black voter turnout declined for the first time in 2 decades in 2 crucial states. That flipped for Trump, Michigan and Wisconsin. Black voter turnout fell, and he won those states by a very small margin. So Joe Biden needs black people, and that's not a personal bias. It's math.
We're looking at tens of thousands of people out there protesting. Joe Biden has said he wants to see comprehensive police reform. Is that not going to energize people to vote?
That'll be one thing. That'll definitely be one thing. You know, like I said, Joe Biden has to do more than just, you know, say that he's for black people. Like, I look at it like this, right? Like all these corporations right now that are tweeting Black Lives Matter, you know, saying things like we have to dismantle white supremacy. Here's the question. You know, how many black people work at those places of business? How many black hires have they had over the past year? How many black people have senior roles in their company? How many black people on that board? You know, are the black people in those companies?
How many black people are in, hold on, how many black people are in Donald Trump's administration?
None. But once again, I'm not looking for Donald Trump to do anything for black people. Donald Trump is not relevant to me and my community. Democrats are. You know why? Because we vote for them over 90% of the time.
But Charlemagne, he is. If you stay home, isn't that exactly what he's looking for?
Yeah, but I'm not staying home. What I'm telling you is, in 2016,
she got that stupid
4.4 million
face.
people who voted for Obama in 2012 stayed home, and more of a third of them were black. What's going to make them come out this time? That's it. Simple and plain. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you, Stephanie. I just think he needs to be doing a lot more. Now is not the time to be playing it safe. He needs to be leaning into blackness in a real way.
It's time to lean in. Charlemagne the God, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be right back.
Damn, lean in on that shit then.
Saturdays happen. Pain happens. Believe it.